Alright, so today we're going to be going over how to record Kali Linux on top of Windows. You want Windows installed first. And I'm not going to go over there's certain other things you need to do, like disable secure boot if you have Windows 7 or Windows 11. So since I don't know the startup queue on this Dell desktop that I got, what we're going to do is just hit the search bar with a Windows key, type BIOS, and what we're going to do is boot into this device, this Kali net installer. Hit use the device, and there it is. So a lot of the times it'll be the escape key, or it'll be delete or F11. It depends when it's booting up how to enter the boot menu. So for that reason it can be kind of complicated. But since we already hit the button for it to boot into this USB stick, we're good to go. Alright, so here we are. Let's do regular. Yeah, let's do not graphical install. What we're going to do is we're going to hit the E key. I can barely see this, by the way. Okay. So E brought us into the boot menu for that particular boot option. And we're going to say no mode set. That resolves a lot of the problems with NVIDIA at first. Then we're going to hit Control X. Here we go. I can see this. English, US, American English. Now I've already plugged in an Ethernet cable. I'm just going to leave that as is for now. If you want to be super secretive, you could delete all that. Bob. Password. We'll also do Bob. Let's do Pacific. You don't need an Ethernet cable hooked up. It just makes it simpler because Kali doesn't always recognize your Wi-Fi hardware. Alright, so here's where it gets complicated. Now, if you've already allocated some free space, great. You could probably do this one. We're going to do manual. So here we are. This is, I can almost guarantee you, Windows EFI is like the very basic boot partition. Then you got Microsoft Reserved. Then you got the real Microsoft OS, some free space. And this is probably from when I was trying to install a different one before. We got the 3 terabyte Hitachi. So I like that. Let's use this. So we're going to use let's see. So this is 524 megabytes. This is an EFI system partition. So this is our what's going to load up the grub menu, GRUB, in Linux. Bootable flag on. So we're just going to leave that because Kali is already recognizing it. If you don't have this, you're going to have to create one if you're doing it manually. Now let's go into here. We're going to delete that. We're going to do a new partition. Say 500 megabytes. And we're going to use it as the /boot. I don't know about Kali necessarily, but other ones, if you're encrypting the drive, they want boot to be outside the encryption. Yeah. Let's say 400 Gs. Now this one we're gonna use it as physical volume for encryption. Okay. So now we can't use this anymore because it should be, oh, you know what? We got to configure encrypted volumes. Oh. So this is going to write changes to disk. So if you accidentally deleted your Windows EFI partition and you hit yes here, you're going to have to reinstall Windows from a recovery disk. It's okay because, well, at least it's okay from a Windows license perspective because usually it's bound to your motherboard. But if you have stuff on your Windows that you wanted to keep, it's going to be a little more complicated to, I've done it, to rewrite a new EFI partition for Windows. So it's possible, but it can cause you some real headaches here if you didn't do this right. So we're going to create encrypted volumes. Now let's find our 400,000 megabytes, 400 gigabyte crypto. We're going to use that. Come on, man. Oh, there we go. Unsafe swap space. So what it's doing is it's recognizing that there's this old thing here. So we're going to delete this because otherwise Kali is going to recognize it and use it as swap space, which means your super secret stuff is going to be cross-flowing out of the encrypted drive onto your unencrypted swap Let's try that again. Yes, really erase. Again, you want to be really sure. Now here, for educational purposes, we're just going to skip this part. What it's doing is overriding with ones and zeros to prevent data leakage. Now I've had it before where if you do skip this step, it might have been with Linux Mint or Parrot or something, it doesn't work. You can't use it. I'm gonna roll the dice here and see if we can get it to work, even though all things considered, data leakage, blah, blah, blah. I hit cancel. Now our password is also going to be Bob for educational purposes. Weak passphrase. Yep. Now the key here often is to be patient. You need patience because it's crunching numbers in the background. So here's what I was trying to talk about here. We got our 400 gigabytes that we can use for whatever up here. This we can't use anymore because we've encrypted it. So you could delete the whole drive, but you can't actually use anything with it. Now what we're going to do is configure logical volume manager, so that way when we could just use this here like this, and that would be it, but we wouldn't have any swap space. I wouldn't normally fool around with, you know, how much space do you want to be in this partition or that partition, you know, user or share or whatever. But if you want some encrypted swap space, you're going to need to do LVM. So here it is, our almost 400 gigabytes. It doesn't always show you a confirm screen, so you just have to trust that it worked. So now it says LVM. And it'll probably take you a few tries if this is your first rodeo, but that's okay. So we have the LVM. Now we need logical volume, because we have the logical volume group. Now we need the logical volume. Logical volume name. Just call this bad boy swap. We'll call it secret swap. Now, you don't want it to be the whole thing. Let's say 32G, and it'll automatically count all the little pennies up of the minutia of what 32Gs should be to the computer. Now we're going to create a logical volume of, and this is going to be our primary. We'll just see if we can call it that. That's our root partition right there. Oh. root. Okay, now we got two logical volumes in our encrypted logical volume group. Where does I finish? Now we can actually see all of them. So we got this one, use as swap area. And we got this one, use as, usually the default is ext4, but you could do any of these. Mount point root, the root file system, this top one, // Now we've got, I think, everything we need. We got root, we got swap, which is extra, bonus. We got the LVM where these two logical volumes live. And that logical volume manager lives on this crypto thing here. Or I guess it's up in here. So now everything should be good to go. Let's see what happens. Because we also have this /boot, which is outside the encrypted. Write changes to disk. Again, you want to make sure you're right. If you're not sure, if you think you might have accidentally overwritten something, you probably just want to press Control-Alt-Delete and reboot and try again, because it'll save you a whole lot of heartache. I'm going to fast forward this part later. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll let you fast forward it. All right. So here's where you could, if you wanted to be super stealthy, do a proxy server, which, from what I understand, is kind of like a VPN. Um, if you're, yeah, I can't speak to the privacy effects of that. I always just skip that part. I use a VPN. I use Mulvad. All right, we're back. So if you want to be fast, you can use X Force. I always like KDE Plasma because it looks nice. And for the purposes of this class, we're not going to install all of this because it'll take too long. But if it were me on my own, I would install everything because we're connected to the internet here. What the heck? Let's do it. Why not? Alright, so we've installed this stuff. Now it's doing its one last little installing the grub bootloader. So what's going to happen here is anytime you boot up, Kali is going to show first. Kali's grub is going to show first. And that's true for pretty much any side-loading Linux you're going to have with a dual boot on Windows. You can do as many side-loaded Linuxes as you want if you can remember the password. I loaded about 7 on the machine that's recording this, but I forgot several of the passwords, so limited utility there. You're gonna get used to this update init RAM thing. When the system breaks, a lot of the times it has to do with that for some reason. Installation is complete. Now time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove installation media, blah, blah, blah. So we're gonna skip that part. We're just gonna reboot because I'm almost positive it's gonna ignore the old USB anyway. And that moment was where, depending on the system, you may need to go back, like if an installation step failed, it'll install all of the base system, but then for whatever reason it's not going to install grub correctly. So you'll have to go back and actually finish that installation step. Here we go. Okay, so this is the one we just installed. Here's Windows. Let's just see if this works. I'm not terribly confident. Let's skip the whole pressing E button. Let's just see what happens. I've got a NVIDIA GTX 1060 in here. So our encryption passphrase was Bob. You'll get used to seeing this graphic too. All right, username Bob, password should be Bob. I think it worked. There's our KDE Plasma screen. So when you install multiple Linuxes on top of Windows, I think usually the most recent one that you installed is going to be the grub bootloader that dominates. A lot of the time it matters what order you do it in. Like if you try several of them, you'll end up breaking it more often than not. So here we go. We've got Linux, we got Kali, we got all of our stuff here, all of our tools. We're connected to the internet via LAN. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. A lot of the time in Kali, you'll have to do syst control, system control, start Bluetooth, if you want Bluetooth. Oh, this desktop didn't come with a Bluetooth adapter, so no worries. So now what we're going to do is we're going to restart and see if, well, this is how you update if you want to really upgrade everything. All right, and how to install something. There we go. We installed a new terminal, and there it is. You press Control C to interrupt. So a lot of these programs you could start by just typing the name, depending on what it is. There might not be a Wi-Fi adapter on this desktop either. So, the more you know. All right, so now we're going to reboot and see if our Windows still works. Go down here to Windows Boot Manager. I think it still works. Yeah, we're good. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Hope this was helpful. See you next time.